Welcome back to the Pond La Hockey postgame show. Mark Farzetta, Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner. We're going to go to our man on the scene in Arizona, John McMullen, NFL writer for JAKIB Media, of course, and he is brought to us by the amazing people at Thrive. John, there's a lot of injuries on that Eagles offensive line. Any information from Nick Sirianni after the game today in his postgame press conference? Any updates as to the injury status of some of these offensive linemen?
No, Nick, as you know, has gone into lockdown mode when it comes to injuries. He thinks it's a competitive advantage, so he's going to go all the way to Wednesday until the injury report. Did get to talk to Jason Kelce, though. He said he rolled his ankle. He thinks he's going to be fine. Obviously, he was able to come back in the game. I don't know why I ever doubt Jason Kelce, but I was doubting him at halftime, and sure enough, he was out there with his helmet for play one of the third quarter. I think it was also positive. Landon Dickerson was out for a while and came back in the game, which that surprised me when he was out for so long. I figured they were going to shut that door. He was able to come back. Then he had to tap out again late in the game. I think it had more to do with the tempo, and he was just tired. He was waving Suopeta in, but we'll have to wait and see. And obviously, we know Jordan Mailata. Hopefully, he'll be able to play against the Dallas Cowboys next week. But we'll know better. We talked to Jordan in the locker room. Jordan was hopeful that he would be able to go in this game. So the Eagles dodged a bullet with Jordan Mailata, whether it was long-term. And I got to tell you, Nick Sirianni loves Jack Driscoll, and he spent a long time talking him up and what he's been able to do, not only today stepping in, but in the past, stepping in at right tackle, right guard, wherever he's needed. It's amazing the depth this team has on the offensive line.
Hey, John, one of the great advantages you have by being in the press box week in and week out is having a bird's eye view of the action down on the field that you don't get to see. You don't get to see certain aspects on TV, even when you see replays and isolations and so forth. We're looking at Jonathan Gannon's game plan to defend against this Arizona offense today. And from your perspective, tell me what you saw, because I have been saying all show long, I thought he resorted back to what he did week one, which was respecting the opponent too much.
I thought they played. I don't think they played poorly defensively. I think they played poorly in the middle of the field. When they got the 14-0 lead, it seemed like Kyler Murray found something in the middle of the field with not only Hollywood Brown, but also Rondell Moore a little bit. And I was surprised when the third quarter started, to be honest, D-Gun, he went away from that a little bit before he got back to it. So I think that was the one soft spot. I don't think anything changed. I've talked to JG, and I saw him in the locker room after this game. I've talked to him a lot over the past couple of weeks. It's all the same. It's about execution. And when the Eagles were executing in the first quarter, looked good. And then they started to falter a little bit in the middle of the field with coverage, and there were some issues. But overall, Kyler Murray's a very difficult player to deal with. I think we all should understand that. We all should know that. You look at his final stats, you say 80.5 passer rating. It's not great. I talk about this all the time. Everything is contextual in the NFL. It's hard to play defense in the modern NFL. So when you get out of a place like this with a win, remember the Eagles had never won here.
That's right.
Ever.
That's right.
Ever. Winning road games in this league is tough. They both had backup kickers. The Eagles' backup kicker, who's a rookie, succeeded. The Cardinals, who's a veteran, did not. I think you understand, and Seth can talk about this, how difficult it is to win in this league. And I think a lot of people took for granted the Cardinals, and Jalen Hurts said that in his post-game press conference, just like he said during the week. He said, you guys, again, with the media, and I disagree with him, but nonetheless, he can have his opinion. You guys were overlooking the Cardinals. Well, I think a lot of the fan base, a lot of the pundits myself included, yeah, we probably felt the Eagles were going to beat this team easily. And it's a road game where they've never won before. So, they got out with the win. There's one 5-0 team, guys. I'm usually not the optimist, but there's one 5-0 team in this league, and it's the Eagles.
John, you're 100% correct. There is one 5-0 team, but our job is to, be a little more critical, especially in this city of Philadelphia, as to what we see, because I'm a firm believer in, your past performances are an indication of your future experiences. It's interesting that you had a conversation with Jonathan Gannon, and, to him it comes down to execution. I believe that, players have to execute what you're seeing on the field. But I also believe that it's incumbent upon defensive coordinators to take the pieces, those 11 pieces on the field, just like he was in a chess game, and strategically put them in place in advantageous positions to be able to succeed. So when I'm watching a game and I see them get caught in nickel, okay, and Kazir White on the weak side playing against, a back that's displaced outside of the box, and then T.J. Edwards on the 3 receiver side with a swap between a wide receiver and a tight end, and he's responsible for the number 3 receiver, okay? And that's a clear mismatch, and it happened not once, not twice, but multiple times. So the problems that you're talking about is that the Cardinals figured out a way to create mismatches and getting a wide receiver on T.J. Edwards, whether they align him there or whether they motion him into that position. And the Eagles had no answer for it. And every single time as well, every single time that they got 4 down and they went spread or they went 5 down, they started running that quarterback draw with Kyler Murray, and we had no answer for it. On multiple occasions, okay? So it does come down to execution, but it also comes down, to your defense coordinator and all the coaches that he has up in the box that's seeing what's going on, that's relaying to him what's going on, and the other assistants that he has on the sideline to say, okay, this is what they're doing. When we come to the sideline, what can we do to prevent that? What kind of checks can we put in place to help our defense be more productive?
Yeah, I agree with that, Seth. In the case of Kyler Murray running the football, yeah, they probably got caught on that a little bit because Kyler had not been running the football. You look at his numbers before this game, he had not been running the football. So, the Eagles probably did come in thinking he's going to do his usual sort of dalliances behind the line of scrimmage, trying to keep the play alive to throw the football. So they did catch them a little bit with that quarterback draw. I think he ran it 4 times for 42 yards. So they got some of their own medicine, so to speak, because Jalen Hurts does that to the opposition so many times. And that's one where you sort of tip your cap as a trend buster to Cliff Kingsbury saying, you know what, they probably are better than us. We're going to have to do some different things, catch them off guard. And I do think they caught the Eagles off guard. But I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about the middle of the football field and having a difficult time with Hollywood Brown, with Rondell Moore. And I look at Josiah Scott, okay, Avonte Maddox is going to be healthy soon. You can get back to having one of the best slot cornerbacks in football. The one glaring weakness on this defense to me has been Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He's making a difficult position switch. Even though he played safety in college, people talk that up. He didn't play safety in the pros. He played slot corner, and I think he's a good slot corner. I don't think he's a good safety right now. Hopefully that improves as things continue and the Eagles get more football under their belt. They're going to have to figure out something there. I don't think there's any question about that. And then I think Darius Slay had one of those games, a little bit of difficulty tackling. I thought this was their worst tackling performance since week 1. So I think that factored into it. They got caught dropping Hassan Reddick. I know everybody's going to talk about that. And, They got a big play out of it. You got to throw a curveball. You got to throw a curveball. You know, if that works and Kyler doesn't see it and he throws it to Hassan Reddick, it might happen later in the season. I always compare it to a power pitcher in baseball. The baseball playoffs are going on. Everybody's excited about the Phillies. Nick Sirianni's got his Phillies jersey on again. Yeah, power pitchers, they don't throw fastballs 100% of the time. You got to fool the opposition occasionally. You got to throw them curveballs. And I'm going to go Jim Sports. I'm not going to go Jonathan Gannon on you guys. I'm going to go Jim Sports because what Jim would say, you know, good, bad, or indifferent, scoreboard. Did I win? Did I lose? It's a check mark for Jim Schwartz.
Well, that's actually that's two Jim Schwartz references because he too would make a baseball reference. Actually,
yes, he would go Orioles.
he would. Yeah, he absolutely would. John, when we had the opportunity to catch up at halftime, you, me, and Devin Caney, of course, you had talked about the Eagles' game plan going into this particular game about how they saw something in the passing game that they wanted to exploit going up against the Arizona Cardinals defense. In the early goings, it worked a little bit. They were able to get those chunks, and then they kind of tried to stick with it, and it wasn't there. Why take so long to try to rely again on your running attack, especially considering the game Miles Sanders was coming off of?
Yeah, I think, well, they weren't running the ball effectively early. And then late, that big drive at the end of the game was all runs. So you wonder, you know, I had mentioned at halftime, I would come out running the football in the third quarter. They took a little bit longer to do that. I got to tell you, I don't want to be dramatic, but you guys are talking about the defense. I know Philadelphia's a defensive town. I don't want to be dramatic, but if I see another bubble screen, smoke screen,
thank you.
I'm going to shoot myself in the face. I mean, my God, how many times?
Oh, my goodness.
And by the way, Devontae Smith, I think, had 10 receptions and 11 targets. Goddard was 8 of 9. Quez Watkins was 3 of 4. All 3 were those wide receiver screens. I don't know. They thought they saw something. But to me, here's the problem offensively. When they're getting the blitz, and Arizona blitzes a lot, and they blitzed a lot today, they don't have hot reads. They throw these screens, and I don't like it. It's very collegey. I don't like it.
Hey, John, Devonta Smith may have to take an icy hot bath because he got popped a number of times in this game. That's 3 or 4 times. Man, he got
Isaiah
popped.
Simmons lit him up. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
But what did Nick Sirianni have to say about A.J. Brown's lack of input in this game? He had 7 targets, 3 catches. What was Arizona doing to take him out of the game?
Well, nothing early. The first 4 plays, we're all looking at each other. The Eagles came out in 13 personnel, so get Goddard involved. I knew that. The Eagles, behind the scenes, told me this is a big Dallas Goddard game. He's gonna, and he had a big game. So they were correct about that. But they wanted to get him involved early, and they were doing the tight end screens. And to make them successful, and they were very successful in those 15 openers that Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen, they were phenomenal. Zach Pascal's out there to block. The first 4 plays, A.J. Brown wasn't even on the field. And then the 5th play, he caught that 15-yard pass. And then he caught 2 other passes on that drive, on that opening drive. And he didn't catch another pass the entire game. The Eagles have talked about this. They say they have so many talented weapons. 1 week's going to be A.J., 1 week's going to be Devontae, 1 week's going to be Dallas. And it's proven to be true until, you know, A.J. Brown was week 1. Devontae had the huge game against Minnesota. Today was Dallas Goddard. Until it doesn't work, I can't complain that much about it. But all the horizontal stuff today, I mean, take a shot down the field. Put some stress on the Cardinals.
John, I agree with you wholeheartedly. You know, I want to just touch on something because the next time you're in a press conference with Nick Sirianni and you have an opportunity to ask him a question, will you please ask him, do they have sight adjustments built into their offense, or is it incumbent upon the protection to pick it up, because I'm not so sure that I see it. You talked about the bubble screen. The bubble screen today was built in as their sight adjustment anytime that they got pressure or they felt like they had numbers, but they had nothing else off of it. Everything was bubble screen, bubble screen, bubble screen. Like the one where Devontae Smith almost got decapitated. Okay, well, Quez missed the block. That's going to happen sometime. But where's the play off of the bubble screen where Quez goes to block the guy, acts like he's going to block him, and then just takes up the field? Because now you got his man going towards Devontae, the corner outside coming towards Devontae because they see it. All Jalen Hurts has got to do is pump one time, to the bubble guy and go right to the seam guy. That's to me, where was that play? Because you had no variation off of the bubble screen. You had nothing but the bubble screen. And then, just like in week 1, when they show you more than you can pick up, the wide receivers seem to just run the route that's called instead of giving me a slant or giving me a quick out, or if you got press coverage, throwing a fade. We don't have that built into the offense, it seems like, and I just want to know whether they do or whether they don't. I know that Jalen Hurts has the flexibility to check plays at the line of scrimmage, but I'm talking about those built-in sight adjustments where I'm the quarterback and I just look at my wide receiver and he knows what I'm thinking because we've got too many guys up front than we can block.
Yeah, you have seen it before. You saw it in Washington with A.J. Brown on the slant near the goal line. That was a sight adjustment from Jalen. But you don't see it often. Today, you're right, Seth. I think that was their adjustment for the blitz. It was all those bubble screens. And similar to what I said about Hassan Reddick on defense, what you said about that, could almost become sort of a new age play action. You keep going to it, bubble screen, bubble screen, bubble screen, and all of a sudden you fake it and everybody's jumping it, and then you go down the seam or you run a go route. It could even be the same receiver. But I didn't see that. You got to throw that in. I'm sure Shane Steichen will talk about it this week. I'm sure they'll watch the film and they'll understand. They probably went to that well way too often. But, the modern NFL, that's what it is, right? They teach quarterbacks, younger quarterbacks. So I'm not talking about the Bradys and people of that ilk. But they teach quarterbacks concepts. They don't teach them plays. So in other words, if they're playing quarters coverage, all right, where's the free safety? What is that showing? Is it cover 2? Is it cover 6? Is it quarters? They teach them concepts. So if the free safety does this, you do that. So it's not about plays as much anymore. And I think that's the difference. And that's why things get really, really redundant in some of these games.
John, you know what I always say is that every plan drawn up in X's and O's looks and sounds good until those X's and O's starts breathing and moving and doing things that you can't account for. And then all of a sudden, that greatest laid plan goes out the window. But if you got...
Well, that's why, good coaches, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times, Seth, it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and Joes. So that's why sometimes you have players like Kyler Murray who's going to say, you know what, we're up against it, 14-0. I'm going to run a quarterback draw. And I haven't done that all year. And all of a sudden you got Kyler Murray saying, I'm going to use these wheels. And you're like, uh-oh, what the heck is that? We weren't expecting that. So sometimes it's just about great players. At the end of the game, Jalen Hurts, they're running the football, but they need that big third down, and he picks it up to Dallas Goedert. Sometimes good players just make good plays.
Yep. Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, a wise man once said. John, last question for you, way too early prediction for Eagles-Cowboys. Are you feeling confident about an Eagles victory at home Sunday night against the Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, I think Micah Parsons, I heard, hurt his groin. So that's an injury.
He came back and played. He came back and played, John.
But
He
still,
got a sack after the pulled groin.
I'm concerned about the groin. But look, I mean, what do you do if you're Jerry Jones? You keep winning games with Cooper Rush, but he's not a dynamic player. Dak Prescott, you want back on the field, but he's not going to be 100%. If he is 100%, which is unlikely, there's still going to be some rust. It's a home game for the Eagles. They're the better team. But yeah, Micah Parsons scares me, but they should be able to withstand a play or two, and they're the better football team. They should win the game. But it's very early.
All right. We'll, of course, update that prediction when we talk to you next week as well. John McMullen joining us all the way from Arizona, brought to you by Thrive Financial Services. John McMullen, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Safe travels, man.
See you. John McMullen joining us from Arizona, of course, the NFL insider for JAKIB Media. We'll be back with more on the JAKIB Media postgame show.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.